Welcome to Warrior Within Show, where we embark on a journey of finding the strength within us all, exploring the battles, the triumphs, and finding the resilient warriors in our society. Join us every Wednesday from 8 p.m. on Natech TV, the Warrior Within Show. I'm your host, Wilda Magenya. I know some of you have been asking where we have been, but it has been a very short and healthy break because I was on a break because I had some health complications, but here I am back with a lot of energy, and especially it is June, the month of men's mental health awareness. And one thing they say that the world could have been nothing without men, because men are the pillars of our society. And today I really have a special guest today who is going to talk about men's mental health and the impact of men's mental health in our society. To all men, as also we are approaching Father's Day, we appreciate you, we appreciate your effort, we appreciate whatever you are doing in the society, because without the men in our society, we could have been nothing. Thank you so much. Allow me to introduce our special guest today. His name is James Nyabera. Who you are, what you do, and what you're going to talk about. Welcome.
So thank you so much, Zena, for having me today in your show. And as you said, I'm James Nyabera. I'm a research scientist in making, community service enthusiast, and a peer educator. And I'm glad to be part of this show as we talk about matters mental health among men. Because as we embark to this journey, and also as we know that June is men's mental health awareness. And thank you, and looking forward to a successful interaction.
Wow. And James, I don't know where we're going to start from, but why just choose to talk about men's mental health, you as an individual?
Because being that like I'm a victim of a mental health issues, because like growing up I didn't know, like I've been struggling until I was diagnosed with a childhood trauma. That was like in the year 2019. And means also seeing the impact of mental health among men made me to stand out and start to advocate for, a social well-being among men. Because as we know that like the society treats men like this pressure in the society that men should not, talk about their feelings. And it's something that we are trying to kill so that men can find it easy to express, their emotions, their feelings, for them to find, a solution for their problems.
Yes, dwelling a little bit into your personal life, because transitioning from being a young boy to a man, how was your mental health status, and how did you just cope up with it being a man in this current society? Do you think that we have really created enough awareness to men's mental health, or we have not? Yes, I just want to dwell into your personal life a bit, because as an individual being a man, there is that point where you got to transition between being a boy to a man, and that entails that there is so many responsibilities and also reality kicks in your life. How was your mental health status? Plus, do you think that as a society currently, we have raised so much mental health awareness to men, or we are not there?
Okay, for me, my past experience was a bit crazy until like I started, like, because I wasn't understanding myself, like, why do I need to feel funny or act this way, until just a friend of mine who approached me like, James, you need to look for, a counselor or a therapist. So for me, taking that route was something good for me. Because when I started now to reach out to the counselor and also sharing out, my past experience, that's when now I noted like I'm really struggling with something. And this something was, interfering with my mental health status kinda. And for now, what I can say, like men lack, let me say, that awareness concerning, let me say, their mental health and also the support group. That's why we also need to embark on this journey whereby we advocate and also like create such kind of awareness whereby men can also be informed on, let me say, the importance of just talking about their feelings, their problems, and not to handle them alone, for them to, let me say, get support. And for me, transitioning from a boy to a man, I've been involved in this support group. Like, I'm grateful to say, like, I was also part of the Man Enough program that was launched globally just to train men to be let me say, to be men enough in the society, so that you can also, let me say, find, let me say, a support group, what we call a safe space, whereby men can just sit down, talk about their, let me say, their past experience, their problems. And being in that space, there's a lot of help, because now you get to interact with people who have gone through, let me say, their worst experience, and they have transformed to be better men in the community. So for me, being in that kind of space, I learned a lot, and I was really transformed to be a man I'm all growing. And that's why, like, I'm in the front line also to champion for the well-being of, let me say, men around. Not all men, but it cuts across the gender. Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. Like, can you share some of the misconception we have about men's mental health? What are some of the misconception or toxic standards that we have put in line about men's mental health? That is why you feel like, as a society, we are not there when it comes to creating awareness for men mental health.
That's an interesting question. And the most common misconception, I think, many believe that men are less affected by, let me say, the mental health issues, which is so untrue. And also, another misconception is all about, like, for us men, we need to be tough people and handle, let me say, our problems alone, which is so untrue, because we need to seek help, because no one is perfect. So that kind of misconception is what we need to kill for us to be in that space whereby we can be open and talk about, let me say, our feelings, our problems. There's also this misconception surrounding men that if a man, let me say, talk about his feelings or his problems, he's being treated as weak. And it's so untrue. And with our current generation, we advocate for, like, we need to kill all those kind of misconceptions for that, so that we can have, let me say, an openness and a safe space for us to be free to talk about our feelings, our emotions as men.
And you just said that you are in a group of where it's like a men's group, where you just kind of share your experiences, whatever you're going through, and how to conquer it. How let's talk about that men's group. Do you think, like, it has been easy getting men into that men's group, so that they can just share the experiences, or it has been hard? Like, okay, I can, if I were a man, how is it, has it been hard for that group to convince me, like, I want you to join this group so that we can just be like a men's group and be there for each other? Or how has it been? Are men showing up, or they're kind of reluctant to join in such groups?
Well, that's a good question. What I can say, they're a bit reluctant, because, like, for you to get into such kind of space, like, it's just start within you, because change start from me. Because, let me say, someone can't, let me say, force you to change. First of all, you need to admit that I'm looking forward to that change. And where can I get that change? So now when, let me say, a friend inform me, like, we have such kind of, let me say, platform, and they do, like, they transform, let me say, men in the society. So first of all, you need to admit that I'm looking for such kind of platform, so that I can also be part of it and also feel the transformation that is being offered there.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts from you before when you accept, let me say, a referral from a friend or even a family member.
Mm-hmm. Now, if it starts from an individual, I think before it starts from an individual, I have to be aware. There should be some certain awareness, and because you've said that most of the men are kind of reluctant. But why are they reluctant? I think maybe it's because they are not aware of mental health. They are not aware that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to talk about what they are feeling. Do you think like we should, as a society, we should be vocal about men's mental health awareness, that we should talk about it in radio stations, in social media platforms, churches, and also schools? Because schools, that is where the young boys are being groomed. Do you think that we should be having sessions even in schools where we just want to talk about it, we talk to the boys and talk about just their mental health and grooming them? Because I think if we create awareness, then a lot of people will be able to come up. Do you think so?
Exactly, and I compliment what you have just said, because I think it is high time we need to get out and
just be there for our boys and our men.
Exactly, and just advocate like the benefit of, let me say, people, or let me say men in the community getting out, seeking out, let me say, those kind of, let me say, help, and also just being in a platform whereby they just talk about why is it beneficial for you to seek help, to even to talk to someone when, let me say, you are going through something. I think it's high time we need to embrace this journey and use our voices to also spread the same gospel, so that we can really reach out to, let me say, large number of people who might be, let me say, struggling, and they are not in a space to speak out about, let me say, their emotion or their feelings. Because that awareness will really inform them on even the platform they can also, let me say, look into, let me say, when they are reaching out for support. Yeah.
And what should we do? Like if I go to church, what should the church do to create awareness about mental health, men's mental health? What should schools do? Do you think that we should be encouraging certain programs just specifically for men, or what should we do as a society? What do you think we should do? And also, being a media like Tech TV, it's a media station. What should Tech do to create men's mental health awareness?
I think for the society, because also church is part of the society,
Very sure.
it should, let me say, come up with, let me say, the support groups, both online and just physical support group that really advocate for, let me say, mental health, kinda. And also, just as you say, this TV station, we should also come up, let me say, that we incorporate that show, whereby like we just talk about matters mental health, and also we just need also to invite, let me say, those who have also gone through or experienced, let me say, the mental health kind of issues, so that they can also come out and speak about, let me say, their transformation journey and what they are doing to, let me say, cope up with their mental issues. Because through sharing story, someone can pick a bit of your, let me say, your the therapy kind of mechanism you're using to, let me say, handle your problems. And it is a good way, and we need to think about it and incorporate that, and not just support, give out ideas. For us to have a society whereby people, are taken care of, more so their social well-being, because we need to prioritize that.
Yeah, and I just love about whatever also the people in the social media space, social media influencers, they're doing. Like starting of this June, we yeah, also in the social media space, I love how men are also coming out and also advocating for each other. Like previously, I saw a post that Obina, who had done, just trying to talk about men and also encouraging men to meet so that they can talk about whatever they are going through and encouraging each other. Because being that Obina is in the social media space, that we can easily access Obina, then we can easily access a person who is down there because he is in the limelight. And I just love about he openly talks about his struggles, right from rejection, right from love, right from career struggles, and everything, right from family. And you have seen that he has conquered it all, and he says that it is just okay to fail as a man, it is okay to rise up as a man, and one thing, let us be there for each other. And I also apart from Obin, I think I saw also the likes of Njugush, Eddie Butita, the way they are holding up other men, you know, they're holding each other. How I wish we can also depict that in the society, like a neighbor. Who is your neighbor? Do you know do you know your neighbor? You know him?
Yeah, I know my neighbor.
You know your neighbor. Like, what does your neighbor do?
So I'm not so sure about it, but I know my neighbor.
But now you see that is
But
where
like a gap.
Yeah.
Something we need to address.
I think now that is where the problem comes in, because we should you should know what your neighbor does, and as even the estate come up with the programs, maybe organize football matches for men, so that in that space you can go and also share, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going through, this is what I did to overcome this. You see, I think that is what we should normalize in the society. And now, James, my question is next question is sorry, how do you think that now my next question, do you think that societal masculinity expectations of men has affected their mental health? Because the society depicts that a man should be strong, a man should not ask, a man should there is a way that we have put standards for our men, and it's kind of a toxic masculinity kind of. Do you think that it is affecting men's mental health?
You're absolutely right, because society has pile of pressure on men that we don't need, let me say, to talk about, let me say, our emotional feeling. And this has really suppressed men to speak, sorry, can you cut it, then
Okay.
So that's a very good question, and I agree with that, because society has labeled men not to talk about, let me say, their feelings, because if they does that, they are weak, and this thing has led to men suppressing, let me say, their emotions, which has accelerated the rate of mental illness among men.
Yeah.
And also this like society, like they visualize men to be tough people and to handle, let me say, their problems alone.
Yeah.
Which is so untrue. So men should now, let me say, show vulnerability by just talking about, let me say, their problems, the emotion they're feeling.
I think maybe because showing vulnerability, I think maybe the society thinks that you're less of a man.
Exactly.
There's showing vulnerability to a man regard you as a lesser human being, or it's just okay to let out your emotions and just speak how you feel.
For me, showing vulnerability as a man, it is a sign of strength, because you admit that, let me say, you are struggling, you have a problem, or you're going through, let me say, something, and you truly need that support for you to, let me say, get your mental health fit.
Wow. Now, as we wind up, so that at least we can sip some water, We are having an amazing conversation here about men's mental health awareness, and indeed we have seen that it is a challenge in our society. And one thing that James has said is she has talked about vulnerability, and as our society depicts about masculinity is that a man should be tough, a man should not be vulnerable. But here James says that it is okay to be vulnerable, because vulnerability shows strength, shows a type of strength that vulnerability shows strength, and if you are strong enough to acknowledge that you are going through a problem, finding solution to that problem becomes quicker rather than just piling it up on you and you cannot solve that problem. It becomes a kind of a burden, and burden keeps on piling up, and that is where the mental breakdown goes through. We really don't want to lose men in our society, because we are seeing that young men, that they're losing their life at a young age just because of stress, which is leading to depression. And that is why we are talking about men's mental health being crucial in our society. Keep on Atech TV. As we take a break, make sure you wait for the next. Thank you. Welcome back to Warrior Within show on Atech TV. I'm still your host, Wilda Magenya, and today we are talking about men's mental health awareness and its impact in the society with our amazing guest here, James Nyabera. So, can we draw back to the family setup? James, how can friends or family best support the men in their lives who are dealing with mental health issues?
Wow, that's really interesting question and catchy. I think families and friends should be, let me say, in a front line when it's come to supporting, let me say, these people who are really struggling, let me say, with mental health, by just, let me say, providing an non-judgmental listening here, and also that safe space or environmental whereby you can be open to talk about anything concerning, let me say, your feeling, your emotion, and also your psychological, aspect, and just also your social well-being. So family and friends, sometimes they do play a critical role in shaping, let me say, mental health. But for my case, I think only for the trusted ones, because
you can't share with everyone. Yeah, and in a scenario where, because we are having the divorce rates are very high, and you find that maybe men are complaining that finding love or just finding a good woman, it has become difficult, because whatever nowadays you ask a man, what do you want? The man says, I just want peace in my home. It means that we are in a society where we don't have peace in our homes. We are not creating a safe space for our men in the house. As a lady, what can I do to ensure that my man mental health status is okay? What are some of the things that I can do to make sure that he is mentally healthy?
Well, I think for a lady in the house, I think first of all you need to, because now let me say this is someone you've been staying with and you understand him, let me say, very well. So I think the first thing, you just monitor, let me say, your man's behavior, and also you just need to, let me say, like, just have a talk, like when now you have started to see like the way, let me say, your man is acting, or let me say the significant change in the behavior, the unusual behavior. So I think that one will trigger your mind that something is not wrong, and it's good now to have that safe space and just talk about it with, let me say, with your man, and see like what's the root cause of the problem, and what solution can you guys approach. If let me say, referring, let me say, your man to the support groups, I think as a lady it's a good thing, you need to do that. And also just like just also supporting your man now to talk about, let me say, his feelings with a trusted friend, for him to get to understand what is going on, and also to get, let me say, the support that he wants.
He needs. you are emphasizing on communication. Like as women, we should learn on open communication with our men.
True.
And also try to understand them, and also encourage them to be in programs, in maybe men's programs, maybe in churches. And by the way, we have men's podcasts.
True.
So we encourage our men to watch such podcasts, because from there they can even feel like it's like creating a relationship with other men, not necessarily physically, but also maybe through social media. They can share whatever it's like a man talk. It's like a man talk, because I feel like there's some things we really don't, as women, in as much as we want to understand you men, we really can't. Like for me, I've been raised by men. I come from a family full of men, and sometimes as I really wish, because I really advocate for men's mental health, but I feel like in as much as I've been raised with men, I cannot really understand you people. It needs a man to understand a man, right? And now, by the talking about that, about a person who has been brought in a fatherless home, a boy being brought in a fatherless home, how can we groom that boy to just be a man? Because I feel like we just need a man should just groom a man. In such state, what can we do? Because we really have a lot of single mothers who are mothers to men, and unfortunately they do not have time or a space to to mingle with men. For such kind of a scenario, what should we do? Because I heard someone saying that most of the problems we are having right now, it is because we are a generation of fatherless children.
True. So for that scenario, I think, like for me, my true witness, like being brought up with a single mom, but I'm glad to say I'm under good care of my uncle, who is really so supportive, taking good care of my mental health. So for this such kind of people, I would prefer like they're just being linked to, let me say, the support group. Let me say, whereby people just, because we also have like, let me say, men's support group outside here. So for them being linked to such kind of group, they'll really find, let me say, a band of brothers who are transformed, who can also, let me say, take them through their life journey towards just getting the right direction for them to take. Let me say, when they are, let me say, experience, let me say, some kind of problems, or like they are not like in a position to understand, let me say, some aspect of life. So through such kind of platforms will really give them that good upbringing and also transformation for them to just fit in the society. Because as you said, it's need a man to understand a man.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And in a scenario where, by the way, we have people coming from a complete family where there is father and mother, but you find that the boys, their sons are not mentally okay. They are mentally suffering. Maybe they feel that their parents are not there for them. Their parents are not supporting their dreams. Their parents are not fulfilling their emotional needs. For such kind of a home, what can you tell parents? What can you tell your mother? What can you tell your father? Like, as a man, this is what I want from you. This is the support I need from you so that I can be mentally okay.
Well, for such kind of family, I think this aspect of communication and also understanding. First of all, you need to, because now I think like nowadays, most of the time, let me say, some of the parents, they don't have, let me say, time to just talk, let me say, to their kids or their sons. And it is something that is really on a higher end. And for me, my thinking, I think they should embrace that kind of the family get together where you just like talk to your son, you also nurture him in a good way that you need to follow. And let me say also, when he's in problem, you also now, like, we need to act, such kind of parents need to act as a role model to, let me say, to their sons. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for the men in our houses to act as role model to their sons, because as human beings we are I think we are fashioned to follow what we see rather than what we hear. You see, like I was joking with a friend of mine and I said, you know, coming for some of the problems we are having right now, or some of the strengths and weaknesses in our society, it comes from family, and family is the core of our mental health status in the society. Why am I saying that? Assuming let's just do it roughly, assuming my dad wakes up in the morning at 6, prays, reads a book, the probability of my brother or me doing the same thing in my adulthood or as I grow up, it is very high, because I have lived seeing him doing that. So I feel it just gets into my system that is how I do. Or if your father sleeps late and does this, or if your father wear certain kind of clothes, you find yourself that automatically, without someone telling you, you're fashioned to be in that direction. It means that if as a parent, as a father, you really have a task to mold your children, because if you are a drunkard, the probability of your kids being drunkards is very high, because that is how they know a man should be. If you are irresponsible, the probability of that man being irresponsible, it is very high, because that is what he sees. Imagine me having a man whom his father would never provided for them, or was never there financially, mentally, or emotionally for them, and the same way that his father was, he is to our home. Do you know, it will be kind of unfair blaming this man, because this is how he understands being a man to be. He understands that I really don't have to provide, I really don't have to be there for my kids, because that is how his father showed him. So we really have to create a good example as men right now in our society. Be there for your kids, be there for your family. Yeah, if you want to raise a healthy generation. But if you want to really raise a mentally unstable and unhealthy generation, then just be careless with life, and your children will just be careless with life. If you want to have a happy family, be careful and be cautious with what you do as a father, and trust you me, your children will follow that. Thank you so much. Now to my next question, James. I just want to ask, like, workplaces. Indeed, some workplaces are very toxic. Very toxic. How can workplaces ensure that they prioritize men's mental health status? Especially, the reason why I'm saying that is that you find that the most critical departments, or the most tough works or responsibility, mostly are being done by men. You get it? So it means that if we don't take care about men's mental health in our workplaces, then it is also going to affect our economy. How can workplaces just ensure that we prioritize men's mental health awareness?
Wow, so my thinking is that the workplace need to promote the good mental health awareness, let me say, among their workers, and also just by providing, let me say, the mental health resources. Let me say they can also come up with a training where they just train their, let me say, their staff on the importance of, like taking good care of your mental health at workplace, and also you just need to relate, let me say, with your colleagues, and also by just offering, let me say, the supports like the counseling, referral. Let me say one of the staff is not, let me say, in his mental health status, so they need to have that program incorporated whereby they have the referral links to, let me say, the therapists or the counselors, for them to be helped, and also just by providing that, let me say, safe environment that encourage openness, whereby the staff just feel free for them to talk about anything concerning them, and also that essence of like you feeling that if I share, let me say, my story with my colleague, he or she will be, let me say, in a position to help me walk this journey. So I think we need to embrace that as a workplace.
And speaking of that, what currently as we speak, what are some of the resources or strategies that have been put in place to ensure that we create awareness about men's mental health as per now?
Well, from my own perspective,
and what you know,
we have at my workplace, we have this kind of program for mental health awareness. Because we do say, like, for me, I do encourage myself, like, each and every single day is a day you need to prioritize, let me say, your mental health. Because let me say, if you're not, let me say, taking good care of your mental health, you won't be in a position, let me say, to achieve your goals. So we have such kind of programs whereby if someone is not feeling, let me say, well or unfit for, let me say, his or her own purpose, so we have that open space whereby you can go share your, let me say, your feelings, emotion, and if it persists there, you'll still get referral to the others, let me say, therapist or counselor who can help you now manage your problems.
Okay, and at the society, do we have programs that, or platforms, maybe in social media, that they just there to support men?
I think I've seen some online support groups that they just like just talk about the priority, let me say, the mental health, but this one now just cut across, and I think it's also beneficial for us people, let me say, who can't, let me say, afford to, let me say, see a counselor or therapist. We need also to embrace the online support groups. Even as you say, just by just watching the podcast, the main podcast, how do they, let me say, tackle, let me say, their issues? From those kind of conversation, I think we'll be taking good care of a good number of men who could be, let me say, struggling in silence, and they don't need, let me say, to speak it out. So through those kind of platforms, there's always help, even if it's not 100%, but you will learn something, and if you embrace it, you'll see a difference.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much our viewers for just listening to this thoughtful and very impactful conversation we're having here with our guest today, James Nyabera. Thank you so much. And also, as we take a break, at least make our muscles flexible and listen to some soulful music. Stay tuned on Atech TV. It's your host, Wilda Magenya. Thank you so much. Oh yes, we are back as we never left, and with our guest here, James Nyabera, talking about men's mental health. Now, James, I have a question. Like, what are some of the symptoms or warning signs to look up to as a man, to look after as a man, and hapa ndo unajuanga yenyewe hapa siko sawa? Like, ni point gani yenye mwanaume akifika tu anafaa seek help? Like, hapa hauko sawa.
Well, I think there's a lot of signs you need to check, let me say, in a person. When, let me say, he or she's not into, let me say, a mental well-being. The first time, I think, if you see, like, let me say, this guy wasn't, let me say, abusing alcohol.
Yes.
For the let me say, first time, but now that persistent abuse of alcohol, this automatically will raise an alarm that there's something wrong with this particular person. Also, because as you say, like, mental health in general, it dictates, let me say, how we feel, we think, and also how we act. So if you see, like, a significant change in, let me say, someone's behavior, maybe this guy was like a jovial kind of person. But when he or she start to like develop some kind of mood, like it's just he or she's just there, dull, and being hopeless. Those could also be a sign to check on, and also like even the sleeping mood. I see like this guy was just active during the normal days, but nowadays he or she is into sleeping a lot.
Yes.
So this could also lead to, let me say, something is not adding up.
Yeah, but I think it's really one symptom that it kind of occurs to many men. Like it's called a dormant stage, where a man just breaks down, and they call it's like a lazy stage where you don't feel like doing anything, you don't feel like talking to anyone, you don't feel like just doing, like even watching it becomes a problem. Like you're just there, and in most cases these people, even if you just tell the person do this, songesha hii kikombe pale, hapana. And maybe some people might think you're being lazy or nini, but I feel that is when a man, by the way, ukiona mwanaume umefika hiyo stage, I think it is very dangerous and you should seek for help. Unapata hata marafiki ameweka kando, social media amepotea, yani yako tu. Mtu akifika hiyo point anafaa afanye nini, especially for a man, because I think it's really kind of difficult, because many male youths, I'm mostly addressing youths, because between the age of 22 to 30 there is a rapid growth and transition, especially in the male gender, where you have to make things right. You have to start a family, and not just starting, because me I can start a family, but it's not my duty to lead a family. A man should lead a family. Imagine starting a family, leading a family. Yeah, you have to work, and you have to provide. There is a lot of responsibility, like take care of kids, like just being there for your family, and also friends, and also enjoy life. Like there is a lot of expectations that you as a man meet, and you find that many people when they're going through that stage, they kind of fall back because they're not in a place to absorb the pressure that friends, family, wives, and the society is pumping in them. Mtu akifika hiyo stage anafaa afanye nini?
From my,
because vijana wengi by the way wako hivyo. Sometimes like it makes my heart bleed. I have male friends and this is what they are going through. Yeah, mtu alikuwa anaweka status, all of a sudden ameacha tu kuweka status. Unamza shida ni nini? Unapata mtu ana battle so much, mtu hata ana pesa ya kukula, mtu wako tu, yani hata unamwambia okay, tell me what you're going through. Yani it's just like a dormant stage. And you see, it kind of affects me because I don't know how to approach that kind of a situation. Like what should I do? Assuming I have a friend or a brother who is going through this stage, what should I do to that person?
Because at that point I think the only solution you have is to just seek for help.
But what if I don't have the courage to seek for help? Or those people I should be running for help are the ones who are even contributing to my stress or depression.
I know it's a bit hard for you, let me say, to seek for help, but the only solution you'll be having at this point is just to, let me say, talk to, let me say, a trusted friend or a family member, so that you can find, let me say, a solution for your problem, let me say, for early intervention before, because if you keep on, let me say, bottling up, it will automatically lead to something worse. You can develop depression, and after depression, now the end thing will be just like you committing suicide, and we don't need to go that direction, because now the solution, as I said, is just you just need to get it out of the chest, even if it is tough, and you feel like if, let me say, I talk to one of the family member or a friend, still I want to get that help, but at the end of the day, you get it out. you get it out. But through getting out, you also start to feel like you're a bit of relieving, because now you admit that you're vulnerable, and you truly need that kind of help. Like just dying with it, So you need to get out, speak it out. At the end of the day, I shared, and let whoever want to help me walk this journey help me.
Okay. That's very helpful. That is really being helpful. And being a lady who really advocates for men's mental health status, I feel like men are not there fully for men. I kind of feel that way. And the reason why I'm saying this way, it's because like you find even in a workplace, like maybe your senior or a more experienced worker who is a man, and you go to, you are a junior worker, and you go to that man, you find that the energy he puts in educating you or showing you something, it can't be compared to the other opposite gender. Like, I wish that every man could take it as a responsibility. Wherever I go, whichever space I walk into and find a man, I must hold that man's hand. Whether it is in a supermarket, you find that man struggling maybe to get something, help him pick something. Whether it is in the workplace, you find a man maybe struggling to know something or even getting a skill, and you know that skill, help that man get that skill. It doesn't cost empowering your fellow man. If you find if you are a neighbor and you see maybe your male neighbor, maybe he's kind of drinking too much, or maybe he's kind of shouting too much, or being chaotic too much, do not just sit and talk about, oh, huyu anakuanga hivyo, huyu anakuanga mlevi, familia yao ni walevi. No, take it as an initiative. Talk to that person. Yes, it is okay to have fun, but do not overdo, because too much of something, it ends up being toxic, especially because a man is a leader. God entrusted man with his world. So whatever a man does, it affects. That is why we are advocating for men's mental health. I wish a man should hold a man. Like whatever Obina is doing, a man holding a man. Advocating like, men, it is okay. Even if you have gone through divorce, you can find love. Even if you have been heartbroken, you can find a good woman. Even if you have kids, you can take care of those kids. You see, you shouldn't be a deadbeat. There is always a solution in every storm, right?
Very true.
Yeah, because the thing is, one thing, my definition of mental health, it is managing, just finding a way of managing or coping with stress, because I believe stress is part and parcel of our life.
True.
We can never avoid that. Like, I'm sure maybe today when you woke up, maybe something stressed you. You are maybe having a problem with, maybe you couldn't find your charger. That is stress. Or maybe ulitoka hapo kwenda kuchukua nini bolt, maybe mtu akakukanyaga nini, hiyo si bado ni stress, because mtu ndio yasha kukasirisha vitu kama hizo. It is just knowing how to cope up with these things. There is a lot of pressure at work. There is a lot of expectation in the society for men. How can you cope up with it? A pressure from work. Then when it comes, ikifika weekend, it is time to relieve. It is time to just maybe watch a movie, go to a place and just go to nature and just relieve yourself, like finding coping mechanism to the stress we have. Yeah, if you feel that there is too much pressure at home, communicate. If you are a married man, instead of jamani kila time they're divorced, watu wanaachana, because at the end of the day we all need each other. James, I need you, you need me. So if I need you and you need me, what are some of the solutions? I cannot run away, you cannot run away. So we have to make things work, and that is through communication. As men, you should learn also to communicate freely. The aspect of communication. Usijali watu watasema nini. Kenye watu watasema tu ikuwe, si ndio?
True.
Yeah, because the truth is that people will judge. Yeah? And human beings are set to maybe negatively or positively impact to something. Yeah. And now our part in short. What can you tell to our viewers maybe a man who is struggling with his mental health, or even a boy in high school struggling maybe with education, and I feel we nisipopita I'll be a loser in life, nisipofanya kazi I'll be a loser in life, or whatever nini, familia yangu nisipoiprovidea mimi si mtu. What can you tell that man?
So for men outside there who are struggling with, let me say, something, I'll encourage, like, that's not the end of the journey. There's always light at the end of it. So just embrace your coping mechanism, let me say, when things ain't working out. And also just prioritize your mental health. Make sure you engage into meaningful activities that also, let me say, taking good care of your mental health. And also just prioritize regular check on your mental health status. And I really encourage people to emphasize on seeking help, because for me it has worked out for me. And I'm a living witness. And I'm proud to say that I'm a product of, seeking help.
Yes.
And I can see the benefit, and that's the reason why I'm outside also advocating for the same, so that men can, let me say, find, let me say, safe space, and also, let me say, that supportive environment for them to talk about their feelings and also their emotion. And before we wrap it up, it is high time we need to get out and just kill this stereotype that labels men not to talk about their feelings. Because something that is there, and that culture is a norm. They treat it as a norm. And for me, it is so untrue. We need to seek help, because for me, it's a sign of strength. Yeah.
Also, me, one thing I can say is that a man should be just there for a man. Whether you are in that life as a brother, in his life as a brother, or as a father, as a friend, as a mother, as a wife, just be there for that man. Yeah, support that man, support his dreams, encourage him. Yeah, communicate with him, create fun. Sometimes you shouldn't be serious about life. Yeah, be flexible. Life should be flexible. Yeah, like we can play football, we can play cards. You see, we can laugh, we can watch comedy, because life should be fun. Life should be spicy, especially for men, because when life is fun for men, they end up being productive. You won't really struggle with saying, oh, that man doesn't provide, oh, that man is not a good father, that man is a deadbeat. When we create a safe haven for these men, trust you me, we are building a strong society. And if you are a single mother and you have a son, maybe you can introduce him to men's program, or maybe introduce him to his uncle, or an older male who can groom him. And if you are a father to boys, please be a good father and set example. Yeah, nurture that man. Make sure you have some few minutes and few moments and memorable moments with your son, so that he can be a good son and be nurtured. Thank you so much for just watching this show, and thank you so much, by the guys, for your support, because so many people have been asking me like, oh, hey, we are waiting for Wednesday, the shows are not coming up. And thank you so much for your support, and thank you, and I love you so much. Like, if you get a chance to watch our shows, the Warrior Within show on Tech TV, make sure you just share to so many people, so that we just create awareness, because the goal is to have a mentally healthy society, and not just to men or even to only female, but all around, kids, young and old people. We are catering for you. And thank you so much, James, for coming to the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I know getting you it has been kind of hectic, but I really thank you for creating time and just being here, because I know not a lot of people can create time for this, and I really appreciate you being here on the studio, and I will welcome back and thank you for what you're doing regarding being there for men's mental health, and we will support you, and whatever you are doing, may God give you the strength to keep doing it. Thank you so much. Your host Wilda Magenya, and here it's James Nyabera, our guest, as we talk about men's mental health. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, guys.